And welcome to the latest printed press. I'm Aysen Djemal, and today we are actually going to be discussing the Conservative Party, Labour Party and Lib Dems party manifestos, which cover various significant areas. These include the environment, health, education, Brexit and issues pertaining to women. As the nation prepares to go to the polls on Thursday, the 12th of December, on what is being called the Brexit election, we delve into the party's promises. What we're going to look at first of all is the Conservatives. The Conservative Party have promised in its manifesto to provide better support for women who are the primary carers in their household. They have actually looked at violence against girls and women, and they promise to reaffirm that it will pass the domestic abuse bill, which was first introduced by former Prime Minister Theresa May in the government in July. They're talking about the domestic abuse bill. Johnson stated in September would legally require councils to provide secure homes for those who are fleeing domestic violence. They also have the NHS outlines that there are more than 1,000 newly recorded cases of girls and women in the UK between January and March 2019 who underwent FGM procedures. In 2018, the Forced Marriage Unit provided advice and support to 1,764 possible cases of forced marriage in the UK. The Conservatives promised to fight violence against girls and women by supporting survivors of rape, female genital mutilation and forced marriages. They also have supporting families with flexible working hours. The party states that it is aiming to look at more radical ways to support working families in the UK. One measure being to provide better flexibility in the workplace. Women in business. One of the ways in which the Conservative Party say it plans on providing better support for female entrepreneurs is by helping them to cultivate new or growing business ventures. We understand the challenge of increasing running costs, especially for smaller firms, and are committed to reducing them, the party states in its election manifesto. If we now move on to the Liberal Democrats, the election manifesto for the Lib Dems stresses that greater representation is needed for women in the public life and in the workplace. Women in business. In an effort to improve representation of women in business, the Lib Dems state that they will push for at least 40% of board members in FTSE Financial Times Stock Exchange, 350 companies, to be women. The Lib Dems also state they would like to encourage employers to refrain from showing bias when hiring new workers by extending the new use of name-blind recruitment methods in the public sector and encouraging its increased use in the private sector. They are also looking at the gender price gap. The party states it wants to end the gender price gap by eliminating the pink tax, which is when products advertised towards women cost more than similar products targeted at men. Right, approach to gender in schools. The Lib Dems also would like to see all schools in the UK to enforce gender-neutral uniform policies, while also breaking down outdated perceptions of gender appropriateness of certain subjects. Several schools have recently made headlines for introducing gender-neutral uniform regulations. While one school in Ireland said that there are new uniform policy means that girls can wear trousers and boys can wear skirts, another school in Lewes, East Sussex banned all pupils from wearing skirts. So that's another interesting one. Violence against girls and women. The Lib Dems include several initiatives in their manifesto for supporting girls and women who have survived violent attacks. Right, and if we now move on to Labour. The Labour Party states in its election manifesto that it wants to put women at the heart of its government. Next year marks the 50th anniversary of the Equal Pay Act, yet women still earn 13% less than men, the party states, adding that Labour will take action to close the gender gap by 2030. The Labour Party also wants to revolutionise parents' rights by increasing paid maternity leave from 9 to 12 months. They also talk about violence against girls and women. The political party says that if it comes into power following the general election, it will set new standards for tackling domestic and sexual abuse and violence. One measure would be to appoint a commissioner for violence against women and girls, Labour outlines in its manifesto. Another would be to establish an independent review into shamefully low rape prosecution rates. The party would also like to introduce 10 days of paid leave for survivors of domestic abuse and ensure refugees for women receive the long-term sustainable funding they need. So, lots there. There's also, within Labour's manifesto, women in the workplace. It promises to enforce fines on employers who do not put measures into place to tackle the gender pay gap. The gender pay gap is the average difference between hourly wages for men and women. New department for women and equalities. The Labour Party states that if it comes into power, it will launch a new governmental department for women and equalities. This department would feature a full-time Secretary of State whose responsibility would entail making sure that all of Labour's policies are equally impact assessed in order to deliver a fairer society for women and all underrepresented groups. Now we have a video clip of Ian Duncan Smith that we're going to show you.
We're here today with the Turkish Cypriots supporting your canvassing for your campaign. Can you tell us what your message is to them for today?
Well, here in Britain we have some serious choices to make. Number one, we've got to get Brexit done. People voted to leave the European Union and we couldn't deliver it because we've had a whole group of MPs in Parliament who were all for Remain, don't want to leave. We have to have this election, we have to win a majority for the Conservatives. Only the Conservatives can deliver Brexit. Labour's all over the place now. Even Jeremy Corbyn now doesn't even know what he's going to do. He's going to abstain on his own plan and the Liberals just want to get rid of Brexit. Can't do that. Let's get Brexit done. Number two, we've got a real plan to put more police on the street, 20,000 more money in hospitals. Here in Whipps Cross, we've got an extra 400 million to build a new hospital, which I've campaigned for. And we've also got more money coming for education, plus other really, really important issues like lowering the cost on workers. And as I've always said, I have fully supported all my constituents and many of my constituents who come from Turkish Cypriot backgrounds. I've always tried to support them and help them as much as I can in problems to do with their family, living on the island and also here. But I do that to all constituents, no matter where they come from, either side of the island. As far as I'm concerned, I deal with my constituents as the issues arise.
And we're back, and that's Ian Duncan Smith talking about investments, more investments in education and hospitals. We're now going to move on to our next clip, which is Bambos Charalambos talking about supporting his local area, people in his local borough, or his thoughts about his campaigning so far. So let's have a look at that.
The campaign's going very well, but we need to do a lot more. We need to speak to many more people. We need to knock on lots of doors, and we need to make sure people come out and vote on election day. So we're working very hard, and there's lots of more work to do, but it's feeling very positive. I think the Labour Party is the only party that truly represents people in the community. I've done a lot of work with different community groups. I'm proud to be supporting the Turkish Cypriot community locally and to do whatever I can to help them. The Labour Party is truly an international party, and we will do whatever we can to support all our communities and be truly representative and not be a minority for the few, but we'll be there for the many. Well, it's a very important election. People have called it the Brexit election. I want us to be remaining. I don't think we should be leaving the European Union, and I'll do whatever I can to make sure we do remain. It's of huge significance for Cyprus, for Britain's relationship for the future, and also for the future of young people. And I think it's hugely important. I want us to have a second referendum, and I want us to remain. and only the Labour Party can offer that to the people.
With only 14 days left now to the elections, we wish good luck to all of the parties. We wanted to just do a little summary of all the different manifestos tonight on our programme, and we encourage our viewers to use their voting rights. Obviously in this upcoming election there's not very long left, 14 days. We'll be covering a lot more things in the upcoming days within our local community, but for now that's it from us from Eurogenge TV. Have a really good night. Thank you.